They paved over my road without asking. So I made every one of their cars vanish. I waited and watched like a man with a match. I learned their routines like a second job. I memorized names and plate numbers. I photographed every vehicle. I read bylaws until the words went still. I found a clause that was their blind spot. I filed a paper that looked routine. I hired a surveyor under a different name. I had him measure the edge of the road twice. I sent letters that smelled like paper. I let the board think I was tired. I watched them sign blank forms. I reserved every driveway for the weekend. I booked a fare under a neutral name. I printed permits with seals that looked official. I called the county with a simple question. Would a closure need notices and signs? They read their own rules and answered yes. On the morning of the fair, I hired attendants. I watched them set cones and hand out wristbands. The neighborhood woke to a polite blockade. Their cars sat boxed in like quiet machines. Cameras recorded everything in plain daylight. I stood by a trailer and signed papers like a man with patience. Board members arrived with coffee and surprise. They asked me why their cars could not move. I showed them permits and an approval number. I watched faces tighten like keys in locks. They called lawyers and posted angry notes. I watched the fair go on like a calm machine. I watched volunteers teach kids to plant a tree. I watched the board read the bylaws aloud. I watched them realize every protest would be a breach. I watched them leave without their cars. I watched them drive home the next day. I saw their pride parked behind official cones. I returned the keys with a simple letter. This is what happens when you ignore a street. I watched them learn to ask, to sign, and wait. I watched committees begin to change. I kept my silence and the street kept its peace. Subscribe for more stories like this.